All right. So good afternoon. I'm Amber Arrington, health and lifestyle coach with Be More Health Coaching. And in the chat, let me know what your favorite movie is. And I see some names like Selena, rom-com is the genre, Pretty Woman. Oh, Pretty Woman or Beaches. We have a few people who like the same types of movies. Best Man Holiday, Shawshank Redemption, Ghost, excellent. And so it's so important to know like what type of movies or what type of recreation engages you because movies are somewhat a reflection of real life, right? Sometimes it's a little bit more superfluous and things may not seem as realistic, but most movies have similar plots, whether it's a love story, or whether there's a story of revenge and redemption, but there's always an antagonist or a villain and also a protagonist or the superhero. And that's how life is, right? There's always going to be losses and there's always going to be wins. So you're going to have some good times and some bad times, just like in our favorite movies. But what happens usually in the end, the good guys typically always win. And that's how we need to think about life. Even when life gives us lemon, we can make lemonade. And that's all about being resilient, is adjusting and adapting to things that may be consequential or unfavorable. And so today we're going to talk about resilience and protecting your mental health, because although some negative things may happen, it does not have to make us a negative person. If you haven't heard this saying, don't be bitter, instead get better, then that's part of being resilient and protecting our mental health. So let's get into it. Thank you guys for sharing your favorite movies. And some of you are probably going to be having movie night together really soon to catch up on those movies. But let me know, what's your temperature for today? What is your mood? Based off of these icons, are you feeling really sunny and jovial like I am? Are there some clouds in your day? Is that how you're feeling right now? Let me know in the chat. Are there some little thunderstorms that are scattered where maybe this morning you stumped your toe getting out of bed, but then you got back on track? Or then maybe you were in traffic or received an unfortunate phone call, and so another scattered thunderstorm. Or are you feeling really cold and distant and disconnected from someone, right? Is it a freezing day or a snowy day for you? What is your mood? What is your vibe? What is the forecast? I see sunny, slightly cloudy with a chance of rain. Okay. Partly cloudy and more sunny. It's always good to check in with ourselves to see how we're feeling and how we're doing, because as we talked about, life can be up and it can be down, but we have some tools that we're going to talk about today that's going to help us self-correct and redirect so that we can get to the temperature and the forecast that we desire. So thank you for sharing that information, and just take a moment throughout your day, every day, to say, what is the temperature? How am I feeling? And you can be your own meteorologist at home, okay? And so it's really good to know what things and what events make us feel a certain way so we can connect to it. And so, what does it mean or feel like to experience a sunny day? Is it maybe where you got good news? Your boss gave you a compliment? Would it be that you achieved something, a project that you were working on, and now it's completed? And so you can have a party over here, party over there. What does a sunny day look like for you? This is a question to ask yourself because it will look different from person to person. A sunny day for me means that I got a good night's sleep. So I woke up feeling really great. I accomplished at least half, because I'm going to be real, okay, of the things on my to-do list that were very important to me. I ate well and I exercised, and I talked to at least one person that I love and enjoy. That is a really good sunny day for me. So make sure you write down on your paper, what does a sunny day look like for you, or put it in the chat. It's also really good to know what those rainy days feel like and look like. One drop is going to be okay, right? You can just wipe that off, get a towel. But what if it keeps coming down harder and the raindrops are bigger? What are those type of events? And how do you feel about that? Sometimes it might be bad news after bad news after bad news, right? Or it could be where we had an argument with someone and we just never got to any resolution and things just keep compounding. What are the events and things that make your life feel rainy, where you might need an umbrella, some extra cover, or to stay away and stay indoors until you get yourself together? So I see people who are sharing that, when they wake up after a good night's sleep, that they feel great and safe as well. And so really checking in with yourself so you understand what you enjoy and what triggers you is even important. All right, so we know the rain can sometimes get us wet and we can feel saturated and overwhelmed. But what about lightning and thunder? What about when it's super critical? What does that look like for you? Is that sometimes getting bad news that maybe there's a loss of someone you enjoy? Maybe there is a demotion or something on the job. What happens when you're so awestruck that you feel like you can't go on? That is a moment to pull into some tools to protect your mental health and to be resilient, and even to solicit and seek some support. And so, really ask yourself these questions, because loss can always happen and it will happen differently for different people. Either we've experienced one of these scenarios or we know someone who has, where maybe there's an unfortunate circumstance and someone's partner doesn't want to be married anymore, or a prized relationship ends. That's a moment for resiliency. Maybe we get news that you're no longer needed on the job. And then that can be a downward spiral effect of bankruptcy, foreclosure, debt. That's a very misfortunate place to be in. What about when you're going to the hospital, whether you're there or you're there with a loved one, and you hear, you might want to sit down for this, or they start off with, I'm sorry, right? That's not something that makes us feel all warm and sunny, right? And then lastly, we get a phone call that someone near and dear to us has passed. These are those moments that can be so crushing, and even more important for us to utilize the strength that is within us and these tools that we're going to talk about today so we can become more resilient. And so I want you to practice this either in your chair or standing up. I want you to get into a power posture. All right. I want you to put your hands by your side if you want, or on your hip. Put those shoulders back, and I want you to look up and even smile. Now, if you're feeling bad before now, you're feeling really confident and together now. Your hands can be on your hips or they can be down. And what I want you to do is think about being this mountain behind me, right? A mountain is strong, it's big, it's stable, it's secure. And so even if there's a storm a brewing, or if it's raining real hard and the winds are going really fast, what's happening to the mountain? The mountain is standing strong. It is not being moved. And that's how we have to be. We have to be the mountains of our lives, because there's going to be things happening around us, but what's happening around us doesn't have to happen inside us or to us. That's right. Someone put in the chat, the mountain is still standing, and being resilient is all about standing through the circumstances. So thank you for that. And that's definitely a tool you can use when you feel like you're in a position where your head might be down. You lift it up, you smile, you put those shoulders back, and you get in your power position. And being resilient is not something that's new to us, okay? Yes, stand firm and strong. When we were babies, we were naturally, innately resilient. So sometimes we have to tap back into that baby toddler side of us. Just think about it. When a baby is learning to walk, they're going to fall. They're going to fall numerous times. Do they stay on the floor? Maybe if they just need to gather their bearings, which is normal, but they're getting back up. They're not getting up, looking around, feeling anxious or embarrassed of who's watching. They're not getting up and getting upset because they put a stain on their clothing or they ripped something when they fell. And they're not even crying for help unless they're really hurt. They're determined to learn how to walk. They're determined to go after what they want. And that fall is not going to stop them. Yes, it may have slowed them down and it may have created a small obstacle, but they get up and they keep going. And this is where we have to get back to when things happen and we get knocked down, that we get right back up and we keep going. And so this is a brief resilience scale. Take a moment, there's only 6 questions, and answer, are you a strongly disagree, neutral, agree, or agree? How do you bounce back after a hard time? Which category do you fall in? And I'll step to the side so you can see it. Do you have a hard time making it through stressful times? So we'll take about 30 seconds here and let you create your own score to see how resilient you are just based off of this scale. All right. And not to worry, a low score may mean that there's an opportunity to be more resilient, and maybe you haven't experienced as many hardships or circumstances that will come, because resilience isn't about where you are in life. It's all about life essentially, because as I mentioned, life is going to have some wins and it's going to have some losses. If you have a high score, that means that you have a higher resiliency rate at this point, which means you've experienced many things. And thank you for remaining muted, that you experienced many things and you've garnered some tools to deal with those. And so life doesn't get easier or more forgiving. We just get stronger and more resilient. And that's the truth. Don't ask for life to get easier. We have to ask for ourselves to get better. And I was listening to Mike Tyson recently, and we all know that he's been a heavyweight boxing champ. And so just think about it. He's been hit and fallen a few times, and he's had over 50 wins, but he's had 6 losses. So his winning rate is pretty high. There's going to be some people who have fewer losses than others. But Mike Tyson said something very profound. He said, life is about loss. Of course, we know there's going to be some wins, but we can't be naive to know that there's not going to be losses. He says, as we get older, we're going to lose hair. Of course, we can replace it, okay? We may lose teeth. We may lose loved ones, but it's not about getting caught or stuck in the loss, but it's about how we live through those losses and prevail. And that is what defines our character and who we are with how we bounce back. So in the chat, let me know, what are some things that makes a plant resilient? All right. If you're any plant moms or plant lovers, what are the essential core things that a plant needs to be really strong and resilient? Let me know in the chat. I see water, nutrition, water, yes. I see water, good soil, strong roots, sun. Yes. So you guys have the essentials, the basics. It needs sun, it needs light, right? Those strong roots to stay grounded in the soil, but the soil also has to be good to promote growth, and it needs nutrients, which is also in the soil and from the water to help activate those things. And so let's think about that in terms of our life, right? What are the things that ground you? What are your roots? What is the thing that helps you to stay firm? For many people, it may be their faith, right? It may be your culture, where you learn some traditions that stick to you and build your character. So feel free in the chat. What are some of those roots that keep you grounded and strong? I see faith. I see family. Absolutely. I see faith Yes. Being connected to a higher power for accountability and guidance is amazing. I see love and family, and these are all beautiful things. And so when we're in those moments where we need to feel strong, think about those roots that keep you grounded. Now let's talk about adaptability. I love this story. We're sticking with the plants. So now we see this fable with the oak and the reed. And you see that the oak is strong, right? It's beautiful and it's big and it has some big roots. And so the oak is talking to the reed, and it's like, yeah, there's a storm a brewing, and I'm strong and I'm beautiful. And you're flimsy. It's almost like a bullying situation, right? And so you might see, oh, you fit the image right here. And this reed is kind of like, well, that's okay. They're defending themselves. But when the storm comes, because the oak is not adaptable and flexible, the storm knocks it over and it just breaks. But what happens to the reed? The reed doesn't break. Instead, it bends and it actually flows with the wind. And so the wind isn't able to tear it apart, but it moves along with the flow. And so that's something we can take away. Of course, being strong is super important because we want to be grounded. However, we also want to be resilient and we want to flow as much as possible so things don't break us and we can bend with the changes. And so you see these two circles here. And sometimes life falls into these situations where it's black and white, but at other times, maybe it's not. And so on a sheet of paper, draw a black circle, fill it in, and on the other, draw a white circle. And this is almost like how I would consider a yes and a no. And many of us like decisiveness. We want to know what something is. However, sometimes life isn't always black and white. And so on your circle in the middle of your paper, put 3 other circles and make them 3 different shades of gray. And just be honest and know that life does have some gray areas. And it might not be one shade of gray. It may be something going on that's a little bit lighter and then darker until you get to black. And just understand that the majority of our life can sometimes happen in these gray areas instead of in black and white. This reminds me of when you go to the hospital, or if you've seen on some of your favorite movies, those vital signs that go up and down, right? And you think about this as like your life signs, because this means your heart's beating and you're alive. And so life can go up and it can go down and up and down and up and down. But what happens when someone is deceased and they've coded? It's a straight line. It goes, it's no more beeping. It's no more up and down. It's just one long siren and one long line. And so, if there are ups and there are downs and there is some gray that you're living, that is a good indicator that you are fully alive. So let's talk about mindset. Mindset is super important on how we're going to be resilient, how we deal with things. Do we have a growth mindset where we're going to take this and learn from it and grow from it? Or do we have a fixed mindset where, nope, if this happened to me, it's the worst thing that happened. I don't know how to move forward from this. And so these are some examples of what a growth mindset might say about failure and success and something new. A fixed mindset might say, I failed. I just need to work harder. Or I'm a failure and I'm not talented enough. And so they don't look at the opportunity. Or I'm not smart. So you want to be in a growth mindset where you take it and you see, what can I learn from it? How can I get better and not bitter, like we discussed? How can this make me grow instead of me staying where I am? And so these are some examples of growth and fixed mindsets, and we want to be in the growth state. How do you see yourself? You don't have to put this in the chat, but mirror, mirror on the wall. Who is the most resilient of them all? What was your resiliency scale? Are there some opportunities to get closer to a growth mindset instead of that fixed mindset? Instead of being defeated, you turn your L, which some people might say is a loss, into a lesson. And then maybe you get another loss. So now it's like double L, double lessons. You put those losses together, you can get a W and learn how to win. Because once you learn how to lose, then the steps get closer to learning how to win. It's all a part of the process. And so there really is no failure. Nelson Mandela said, I don't fail, I only learn, I don't lose. And so let's talk about resilient people. We talked about those movies, right? What's your favorite movie? And a lot of time those movies, we love them because of the things that people go through, their struggles and how they've overcome. And so we all love a good victory movie. And we love victory in stories and in our lives. And so who are some resilient people in your lives that you're proud of, that you look up to, that you admire? Who are those people that you know either their personal stories and that they've been resilient, and feel free to put it in the chat, or that you've seen in movies and maybe you don't know them, or they've been pioneers in our everyday life? Who are some of those resilient people? I know a resilient person is my mom. You know, she was a single parent of 4 kids and a teacher, and I never saw someone work so hard and go back to school and provide for all her kids. And to me, if ever I'm feeling weak, you know, she's a great example. And I say, well, if she could do it in her scenario, then I can definitely do it with more advantages and more opportunities. And so sometimes looking at people and how they overcome can give us a framework, can give us inspiration. You know, one of the great talented entrepreneurs said, success leaves clues. And so we don't have to start from scratch. We can just kind of look around us. I see Virgin Islanders, the post-hurricane, exactly. Me and Robert Downey Jr. Yes, those are all some resilient people. And so I'm going to talk about a few. One being Katherine Johnson. And if you've seen Hidden Figures, then you know she worked with NASA. And what happened is she pulled from her roots. She was adaptable and she had a growth mindset. And so I'm going to share a little bit more about Katherine's life with you. So Katherine, of course, was a mathematician, and she was essential for the NASA to go into their trajectory into space. However, her roots was that she was inquisitive, right? So she wanted to learn more. That was who she was on the inside, is that she wanted to know what was going on and why it was happening, and she wanted to be a part of it. However, she had to be adaptable because she faced discrimination, and it was double discrimination because it was about her gender as being a woman. If you remember the movie, the women weren't in the space area, and it was also because of her race. And so she had to figure out how she could utilize her intelligence to get into the room. And so sometimes, I don't know if you've heard this before, but if they don't give you a seat at the table, then bring your own chair, right? Bring your own table and chair. And that's somewhat what Katherine did. She made herself very valuable and important. And so her growth mindset is that girls are capable of doing anything that men are capable of doing. And because of that, she became the first African-American woman to attend a grad school for the NASA program, and one of the few African-American women to work on that program. And so that's just an example of not letting people tell you no, being resilient, even in the face of adversity and challenges, and utilizing who you are, what you know, and being adaptable for that. Let's talk about Bethany Hamilton. All right, Bethany Hamilton was basically a surfer, and at the age of 13, she was attacked by a shark. So her roots were that she loved surfing. She was born in Hawaii. She was faith oriented, but an accident happened. And sometimes we're in accidents, whether they're as fatal as hers, where an amputation was a result, or if we've lost something else, but it was still a loss. And so she didn't let that stop her from surfing. Now, the growth part of her story is that she became one of the best female surfers. She had a movie named Soul Surfer produced about her. She became this world-renowned inspirational speaker. So not only did it create 1, 2, 3 careers for her, but she also identifies as a mom, a wife, a professional surfer, and her faith is super important to her. She says, the strength, identity, and foundation of my life is the faith that God has given me. With God, I am unstoppable. Roots, adapting, utilizing what happens to you and growing from it. And that's what being resilient is about. So these are some great examples of other people as well. And so you know how sometimes you've heard the statement of a concrete rose? You can still grow in harsh conditions. Of course, we always want an environment for success, and sometimes that takes time, but we won't let our limitations stop us. We're going to work around them, we're going to work with them, and we're going to be resilient and grow through them. All right, I see some amens in the chat. Got my amen corner on standby. I love that. So what are some ways that we can be more resilient? In addition to what I've already shared, one is changing how we think and how we speak to ourselves. Still a part of the growth mindset. My mom used to tell me, I can't, it's not in your vocabulary. I don't even believe it. Yes, it might be difficult, but I can do it. And so whenever you're thinking like this is too hard, I'm not going to be able to make it, you tell yourself, I can make it. You affirm yourself in the positive. I see someone says, yes, mine too. And I tell my children that you can do it. And so the same thing that you would say to your child or a loved one, say that to yourself. So many times we are giving everything we have to others. We're giving them the best advice. We're giving them the best energy of our day and our work efforts. And we're neglecting ourselves. And so say, I can. And whenever you feel like you're defeated, just say, what would I say to my child? What would I say to somebody I love? And say that to yourself. It'll definitely switch things around. Another thought is say, yet. I'm not strong enough yet. So the power of yet is impactful. I haven't lost the weight yet. I haven't gotten the promotion yet. I haven't gotten the ring yet, but I know it's coming. Okay. And so be resilient. Don't give up. Stay faithful. Be grounded and know that it may be delayed, but it is not denied. And that is something to push us forward and keep going in itself. Be curious. All right. Curiosity did not kill the cat. Okay. It says, curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought him back. Use these opportunities to learn, just like Katherine did. She did not say, oh, the men are doing something in another room with the NASA program. The ladies are supposed to be here. She said, I was inquisitive. I wanted to know what was going on. I wanted to learn, and I needed to know why. And she was able to show, I have something to offer. And so if you look at a challenge and you say, well, what can I learn from this? Then who knows what that next level will propel you to just from having more information. A lot of times on my job, I've learned that if someone tells me no, and I think this is important, then that means that I haven't shared enough information with them. That means I have not given them all of the details that's going to help them to see things in another light. And so be curious. Don't settle. Just try to learn and understand more. Oh yeah, you guys are so good. With God, all things are possible. All right, so this is just a quick example and diagram of how to get into a flow state. All right, you don't want something too difficult, but you always want to have a hobby or something that's going to inspire you and push you. But if it's too hard, you might get defeated. If it's too easy, you may get bored, but you want something that you can grow from. You want challenges that are going to make you a better person, because it's really not in our comfort zone where we get the most growth. And our comfort zone is really where we're relaxed, we're chilling, everything is all good, but it's the status quo. We get the most growth when we're challenged. And I like to tell people to go from your comfort zone to your conquered zone. And that's going to create some steps. That's going to include some steps that might not be as comfortable and may push you and stretch you, but the results, the rewards are going to be more valuable than not trying and putting forth effort. All right, let's practice some gratitude. Put something in the chat that you're grateful for. This is something, a practice that I like to use every morning. I say, what am I grateful for? It sets the tone for appreciation, and what you appreciate appreciates. And so having an attitude of gratitude will help us to look at life differently. If we are having this high expectation that things have to be perfect, we're going to always be disappointed. But if we look at our lives and we say, you know what? I may not be where I want to be, but I'm better than I used to be, then we can be grateful. I see someone says they're grateful for their health, for their life, employment, family, health, my job. I am grateful to serve. Yes, waking up, children. These are all wonderful and beautiful things, and they are accomplishments. Okay? No matter how difficult our life may seem, just know there's always someone else struggling. And we never know someone else's story on what they went through to get where they are. Someone says they're grateful to be alive. You know what? I tell people, if you can breathe, you have another chance. You have a chance to do whatever you need to do. If you can take a breath, that is the only sign you need. Someone's grateful for their older son. That pushes them to be a better person. That's so beautiful. Thank you all for sharing. Keep them coming. And as you're sharing, I love for us to do this breathing exercise, because breathing can also help us to relax our system, to think clearer, so we can strategize and be more resilient when we're in difficult circumstances and situations. And so I'm going to do a couple breathing exercises, and you can do this more on your own and practice this. And so one of them is really putting your hand around your neck. This is a very soothing position, and just breathing for 4 seconds to inhale, and then exhale for 4 seconds. And touching ourselves gives us so much comfort. Inhale and exhale. And now cross. Give yourself a hug and just tap back and forth at your own rhythm. This soothes us as well and makes us feel good and taken care of. And inhale for 4 seconds. And exhale. And inhale. And exhale. If you haven't had a hug all day, then there's your first one. Here's another one that I learned from Coach Jessie, actually. Take your hands out and you're just going to inhale and touch every finger, and then exhale. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. Let's try that one more time. Let's inhale and exhale. Beautiful. These are 3 different breathing exercises, and there's so many more, but they really help when we feel like we need a hug, we need a touch, and we can touch ourselves and love on ourselves, which is the best self-care anyway. Thank you for participating. Another strategy we can do is to create our forest shield, our bubble. All right, now we can't live in a bubble. We have to live in the real world, but we can put some boundaries in place. We can protect ourselves. All right, and I like this bubble idea, this concept, because it's shielding us. And so negativity, bouncing back, bouncing off the bubble, okay? Toxicity, bouncing back, bouncing out the bubble. You cannot penetrate and access me, okay? And so create your bubble. What are the things that your bubble is shielding you from and protecting you from? So that way it doesn't get into the core of who you are and impact your day-to-day, impact your personality, impact your interactions. All right? Create that force shield around you, be your own superhero, and let that stuff bounce off. It kind of looks like a snow globe. Something else you can do is journal. Get those thoughts out of your mind, because once we get them out of our mind and we put them on paper, then we start to feel so much better. It's almost like a release of tension, of negative energy, because we've gotten it out of our bodies. And breathing is helpful for that. Sometimes crying, I like to say that's a form of detoxing. Getting that negative emotion, getting that energy moving out and through your body, and it can move out through our hands in writing. And so journaling is definitely a really good strategy for resiliency. As you're writing, you're going to get some new thoughts and ideas downloading, and write those down, because you're going to write down your issues. And then as you finish, you're going to write down your action steps, how you're going to overcome those issues, right? So get it out so more things can download in. I see people are using a notebook release. Okay, I feel like a release session is happening now. And something else you can do is just ask for help. I like to tell people, solicit support. Life is not meant to be done alone. Yes, we're born by ourselves. We're going to leave this world by ourselves, but we don't have to do life by ourselves. It is a choice. I heard this quote, and it says, challenges and problems are inevitable, but struggle is a choice. And so things that happen to us, we can't control sometimes, but struggle is inevitable. Suffering is a choice. We can choose if we're going to let this suffer inside of us, if it's going to ruminate, if we're going to just overthink. So our suffering can be a choice, but the struggle is not. So we do face challenges, but we don't have to suffer from those challenges. We can ask for help and ask for support. And you being here shows that you want to be supported and you want to be the best version of yourself. So some other things you can do, of course, is eat healthy. Make sure you don't have toxicity in your body. Health complications make it more difficult to persevere. It's hard to get up if you're feeling sick, right? Also, getting enough sleep. At our age, as grown adults, we need about 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And sometimes we might think, oh, that's such a waste. I'll sleep when I die. No, you need to sleep so your body can recover, so your body can detox, so your body can grow. A lot of work is happening when you're asleep. You don't have to do it because you've done it all through the day. And so sleep is a time where your body will say, I got this, you rest. So it's a great form of self-care. Also, exercising. Get up, move, and groove. 150 minutes a week of moderate activity. And it's not a lot. That's about 30 minutes a day. And do you know that 1 hour is only 4% of your day? 1 hour, 60 minutes is only 4% of your day. And so even if you're watching TV, even if you're working, take a break, because our bodies were not made to sit as long as we are. And if you've heard this before, then, or if you haven't, sitting has become the new smoking. And so, you want to get up, you want to get moving, you want to stay active. Another thing is meditate, breathe, check in with yourself. This world is so dynamic. There's so many things happening that you want to make sure that you're staying active and you're checking in with yourself and you're breathing and you're meditating and being clear. This is a great thing to read about bouncing back. I won't spend too much time here, but I will read one or two, and you can feel free to read another one. But accept what you can't change and try to change what you can. The Serenity Prayer, right? Also, bad times don't last always. I love to listen to music. A lot of these are quotes and sayings in music, and that's a way that helps me with being more resilient as I go to these different tools and sources that encourage me. And so some inspiration comes from music lyrics. And so these are some quotes, and you can also do a search for quotes as well that resonate with you. And so life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. That's not fun, to just be waiting and wishing. Instead, you want to be able to dance in the rain and learn how to do that. All right. So don't just wait, don't wish, but put in some work. Become more resilient. And I want to thank you all for attending this session. I do hope you took away some really great notes in the chat. Let me know what are some of your takeaways or what resonated with you on how you're going to be more resilient. What stuck out to you and what do you want to do going forward? As I mentioned, I'm Amber Arrington and I'm a health and lifestyle coach with Be More Health Coaching. Thank you all so much. Have a great day.